Hello, welcome to our Wednesday where we share words of wisdom. Today I'm going to be talking about beware of subliminal messages. Beware of subliminal messages. Now I'm going to break it down and let you know what the definition of subliminal messages are. And you may have heard this term from time to time, but let me go on and give you the definition that I found. And it says that subliminal messages are a technique used in marketing and other media to influence people without their being aware of what the messenger is doing. This may involve the use of split-second flashes of text, hidden images, or subtle cues that affect the audience at a level below conscious awareness. So we're not talking about the conscious mind, but we're talking about your subconscious mind. All right. Now, it appears to your subconscious mind, and it is a process in which external sensory stimuli trigger reactions without us knowing the signals. So that is pretty interesting to know when we're talking about subliminal messages. We're kind of looking at what we call codes, images, signs, numbers, and words. So they can come in those types of forms. So when you think about movies or you think about advertisements, commercials, and things of that nature, those various forms of media have what we call subliminal messages. And so let us go a little deeper because I'm going to break it down to you about how our mind has two different types of consciousness. And the first one is the conscious mind, which is the one that executes control of our mind. We can think, we can judge, we can feel and experience with awareness in this part of our mind, the conscious mind. The part that is awakened, the part that we deal with every day. But the subconscious mind, that's the other part of our mind, is the part where Sigmund Freud talked about. He has done a lot of experimentations on the mind, and he talked about it a lot. And that's the part of our mind that operates below the level of consciousness, below the level of conscious awareness. So it is that secret hiding place for our desires, motives, past experiences that exist outside our conscious awareness. So we're talking about that part of us that is hidden, that part of us that is not so visible, is not out in the forefront, but it's somewhere inside of our mind that's been suppressed or has been locked down. But there are certain triggers that happen in our life that cause those things to come up to the forefront. So that is our subconscious. This part of our mind is also on autopilot. So when you think of an autopilot, you think of a cruise. When you press the cruise button in your van or your whatever vehicle that you're using, when you press that cruise button, then the vehicle is moving on its own without anyone pressing a button or moving it at all. It goes. And so that part of our mind, the subconscious part, is on autopilot. That's the part of our mind that's on autopilot, and it is more powerful. This is what's so interesting to me. It is more powerful than the consciousness. It is more powerful than our consciousness when it comes to processing information. So that is powerful to know. That is very interesting and key to know. But I'm going to show you where I'm going with what I'm saying. So with the subconscious mind, it has 20,000 bits of information, or it processes, 20,000 bits of information simultaneously in a day. Okay? The conscious mind processes 7 to 2 bits of information at the same time in a day. And so when you think of that, your subconscious has more going on. The subconscious is processing faster. It's a lot more alert. It's running information simultaneously over and over again, almost like a computer. You think about a computer and all of the data that it stores, the data that you see on the front of the screen, where you see the apps and you see all of the things that you save on there, is kind of on that first screen when it loads up and when you see it. But then there's also data that's on that computer that's downloaded that you don't see, that is actually hidden. you know that's what we call the subconscious. And so all meaningful decisions are made at the subconscious level. How interesting is that? So and then when you think about your conscious, you're like, oh, I make my decisions based on my consciousness. No, all meaningful decisions that you make are made at the subconscious level. How amazing is that? How relevant is that to even know? All right, we're going to get there. Okay, so when we talk about subconscious, an example of that would be how many steps you take in a day. You don't measure that. You don't even know. You just walking. All right. How many times do you breathe? You breathing in and breathing out all throughout the day. Do you make a record of that? Do you even know that? Can you give those numbers? That's the subconscious. You won't be able to do that. And most people, you would drive yourself insane to sit there to try to figure out how many steps you take in a day. Now, of course, we have what we call a Fitbit or a fitness tracker or something that kind of tracks your steps, and it tells you how many steps. Well, that thing can be inaccurate. Who's to say that it's not accurate, that it's accurate information? Who's to say? Because we're dealing with computers, we're dealing with glitches and stuff, so you never know. But it'll tell you, oh, you've done 5,000 steps today or 6,000 steps. You don't know. But for us to sit there and manually try to write down how many times, that is a lot. But your subconscious is actually processing that type of information. Amazing, 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 you all. So, our topic, beware of subliminal messages. Subliminal messages. All right. There are various areas that we have within us when in reference to senses. We deal with our visual, we deal with auditory, we deal with tactile, which is the touching, we deal with olfactory, which is the taste, when you're tasting something, the gustatory, which is the smell, the vestibular, which is the balance and the movement, and the proprioception, which is body awareness. All right. In subliminal messages, they're mostly dealing with your subconscious because that's what they target. Subliminal messages target your subconscious part of your mind. And it is mostly auditory and visual. The one that's the highest is the visual, because with visual, those pictures come so rapidly that your subconscious is drawing it in. And then also with the auditory, most people are more visual than auditory, and some are more auditory than visual. I was telling my husband, I was talking to him, and I noticed this about us. And I told him this way before I knew I was a prophet. I said, I am more of an auditory person. I don't normally just look for signs visually. But sometimes God will kind of magnetize something or magnify something so that he wants me to really pay attention to something. And so my strong suit is auditory because that's what I've been trained to do. That's what I've been trained to do in my profession. I'm a speech pathologist. So for the most part, what we do is we listen. We do a lot of listening. We do a lot of auditory training because we're listening, trying to figure out what type of disorder that we are recognizing. But not only do we do the auditory, but we also look at the physical features too, so the visual. But our main component, or the main area that we focus on, is auditory. So that's what I've been trained to do. Listen. I've been trained to take it in. So that was going to be my strong suit anyway. And my mom always told me as I was growing up, she was like, you have an ear to hear. I used to have an ear to hear music. I mean, I still do. I can play music by ear. And I can hear the music, I can hear the sound, and I can just play it. Because I know, it's like I have that sense. I know how to play that music. Now, I might use that one hand, like my husband always talks about me using that one hand, but that one hand, I use it, and boy, I would get every sound, every little, point in the break of the music, all of that. And, that was, like I said, that was my strong suit, and it still is my strong suit, the auditory. But my husband, he's more visual. It's like he picks it up so fast, and it's almost like I feel like I'm behind schedule when it comes to those types of indicators, whereas it takes me a little longer to figure something out just by looking. And he'll say stuff like, oh, such so and so this, or this and this, and then I'm looking like, how did you pick that up? But in his line of profession, which is so interesting, they teach them how to use visuals, how to visually identify those who may be have potential to commit crimes, because he's in law enforcement. So it's all about visual for them, because when you think about the forensics, you think about all of these things that they have to look for, the symbols, and looking for, like, if they're in a gang affiliation, or if look into their eyes and see if they're maybe a potential child molester, all this type of stuff. They teach and train them how to visually identify these indicators. And it's so interesting to me, because like I said, we have different fields of study that have trained us to see and hear. And so his strong suit, like I said, is the visual. My strong suit is the auditory. So we help one another a lot. So I learn from him a lot. And of course, he learns from me a lot. Sometimes he don't want to hear a lot of what I say. You know how men are. They don't like to listen. But we do like to talk, women. But that was a strong suit, for me. Like I said, the hearing. So it is just so interesting about the conscious and the subconscious, and how subliminal messages can be intercepted through your subconscious mind. Okay, you can be sleeping, something can be on. It's amazing. Something can be on television, you don't even know the show is on, but subliminally in your subconscious, it's picking it up. It's picking up whatever that story is, whatever that show is. I remember one time I woke up and I was feeling some kind of way, and I was like, why am I feeling this kind of way? The television was on, and just so happened I was able to capture a few pieces of what was viewing, and I said, that is the reason why I'm feeling this way, because in my subconscious it was connecting to me through my subconscious, and I wasn't aware of it. So it affected me, and then I started, like I said, feeling certain types of ways. It was because the television happened to be on and I was sleeping, and it affected me through my subconscious mind. It has happened to you before. You just didn't recognize it. You probably wasn't aware of it. You trying to figure out, why am I having this terrible nightmare? Why is this happening? And so those kind of things just kind of, it's intriguing to know. And like I said, the subliminal messages target mainly your vision, your visual, because it's those flashes of light and those visual images that you see so quickly, and your mind is just capturing it like a computer and storing it. You don't know what just happened. It's almost like your privacy, your secure, whatever you thought that was secure has just been violated. Your mind has just been violated, and you didn't even know it, because in your subconscious you're not aware of it. You don't pick up on it. But your conscious, you do. You pick up on things in your conscious mind. Our visual category dominates our perception. Most of what we see dominates how we perceive things, Sometimes we get the message wrong. Sometimes because it's a subliminal message. Sometimes we get the picture wrong because it's a subliminal message within the picture, And, I've been talking about vision for the past several months. This is what, July. The past 7 months, God has been dealing with me about vision, and what you see is not really what you see, because there are subliminal messages that catch us off guard, that are affecting us in our mind, and then affecting us in our actions, is affecting us in our decision making, is affecting us in our actions. And so we need to be aware that there are subliminal messages everywhere, and know how to identify that there are subliminal messages. Because some things that you actually can pick up when someone brings it to your attention. You see what I'm saying? Like right now, we are in a quarantine, and a lot of the things that we did not see before all of this happened, we're beginning to see it now. Why? Because we've been able to settle ourselves down and actually review the subliminal messages behind the things that has been put in front of us. Okay? Because the people that are that are powerful, that are in the influential ones, they want to control the narrative. They want to control what you see, what you hear, all of this, because they want you to be in the dark. You know what I'm saying? They want you to not discover what is really going on. That's when they will enforce these subliminal messages upon you. You don't even know what happened. You don't even know what hit you. You don't know. So let me keep going here. Because I want to go into this part here. It talks about the auditory subliminal messages. Auditory subliminal messages are in two forms. Subaudible, which means low volume messages inserting into louder audio files so that they cannot be heard. So then I may be speaking loud right now, but then there will be another audible sound in the background that says something. You didn't hear that sound, but you're hearing me speak. You see what I'm saying? That is a form of subliminal messaging through auditory, through a sound, actual sound. So words are being said in the background of what is being projected in front of you. You hear the dominant voice, but you don't hear the small, still voice. Isn't that something? That's even spiritual right there. We don't hear God's audible voice, but we hear someone else's voice that's right in front of us talking to us. We don't hear God's audible voice because God speaks in a still, small voice. It's like you really got to settle yourself down to hear God. You feel what I'm saying? You got to settle your spirit man down to hear God. Everything around you needs to get quiet so that God can speak to you in that still small voice. Because God's not going to get loud like me. He not going to just be all loud like this and just be talking to you. But he got to get you into a place where it's still and small. He got to get you into that quiet place where you can hear what he's trying to say. So this is that auditory subliminal in a form. I'm just kind of making a comparison, like how God speaks to us, and he got to get us in a quiet place. But with these subliminal messages, they doing the opposite. They're trying to get you into a loud environment so you can't hear what they're saying in that still small voice. You feel what I'm saying? So you can be listening to something, and then that still small voice could be saying something that you're not in agreement with, but subliminally in your subconscious, it picked it up. See what I'm saying? It picked it up, and it affects your belief system. It'll challenge you in your thought process. Sometimes you will succumb to the very mind of your subconscious. You will succumb to those thoughts. You don't even know why. Your rationale thinking will be challenged, and you will start thinking, well, I can do this. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Because subliminally, the audible sounds or the audible words affected your subconscious. It affected the way you thought. Now it's going to affect your decision. So another one. I'm gonna keep going here. Another auditory subliminal message is back masking. Okay, back masking. They talked about this when we were growing up. They're talking about how when you play a song backwards, you hear a different message. This is what that means. So it's a video message or song recorded backwards so that the original message is disguised when playing it forward. So you hear the song, oh yes, the song is going well, you're in agreement with the words, but when you play it backwards, it says something totally different, something that you don't agree with. Okay, so one of the examples it gave in the article that I looked at was the Beatles and the time that they had a song out, and they kept repetitively saying number 9, number 9, number 9 in the song. Okay, they repeated it over and over and over again. When they played that same song backwards, that number 9 said, "Turn me on, dead man." Repeating this number 9 over and over again in that song, didn't nobody know that playing that song backwards would say, "Turn me on, dead man." Who would have been saying number 9, number 9, number 9 after they knew that that song backwards was saying that? Probably nobody. They wouldn't have wanted to do that. And there are countless other songs out there, especially in the secular world. We listening to all these songs, and they are demonically inspired. These are songs that have been, occultic type of activity has taken place. Chants and all kind of witchcraft and sorcery has been practiced over these songs. They pray over these songs, but they're not praying to our God. They're praying to their God, and they want to release certain things within the music. And a lot of our culture, they don't understand that. They don't understand why they can't get certain songs or lyrics out of their head. Do you know if those lyrics and songs that keep playing in your head that are secular, if played backwards was saying, "Hail Satan," "I worship the devil," boy, a lot of folk would be just as man, they would try to erase some of these songs out of their minds if they knew what those songs actually said backwards. They would stop listening to a lot of the music that they're listening to. I guarantee you, they would stop listening to it, but they don't know. That's what we're talking about with the subliminal messages. This backmasking is real. It is real. It is out there, and a lot of people don't know about it. A lot of people don't know about it. So in your subconscious, there are things going on. You better be aware of what's out there, because the enemy comes to deceive us. There is a great lie, a great deception, and he will make it look like it's okay. Everything is okay, but subconsciously it's not. You don't know what you're listening to, what's feeding you in your spirit, and what's feeding you in your subconscious mind. It could be contrary to God and his word. That's something serious right there. And God said he would not have any gods before him. He doesn't want us to serve any other gods. Now, if you singing a worship song on a Sunday and then you listening to, whoever, Jay-Z, Kanye, whoever, and their rap lyrics, or Beyonce, all these other folk, I can name them all, listening to their music, Playing it backwards could mean something totally against what you believe. You feel what I'm saying? That's how deep this stuff is. Don't nobody want to talk about that, but that's how deep this stuff is. And you know, my husband and I, we the same way. I'm very sensitive when it comes to music. I don't listen to everything. I don't listen to a lot of stuff. Matter of fact, when I hear it, you know, it's like it turns me away. You know, I just don't, I try not to entertain a whole lot of stuff. Because one thing about me, I don't want, you know, we're not garbage cans. We're not garbage recipients, and we should not entertain garbage. Now, subconsciously, the things that are going on subconsciously in my mind, I need to guard over that. I need to guard over that, and the way that I can do that is that I won't allow certain things to be heard through my ear gates. I have to guard. He told us, God told us to guard our hearts. We gotta guard these eyes, what we see, these images that we see, and we gotta guard our ear gates, because it's so much that goes in and out of our ear gate that affects our subconscious. The part of our mind that is in autopilot, that steady cruising, that makes up most of our decision making. And I don't want my decision making to be affected based on the things that I hear that is contrary against God's word. Sometimes I don't feel right around certain environments, especially when they play certain music, or if they're watching certain things. I said, turn it off. I do that a lot of times with my kids. I'm like, look, turn that stuff off. Turn that crap off. Oh, I get raw with it now. You know, when it's a bunch of foolishness and a lot of jesting and stuff that I know it just does something to me spiritually, I tell them to turn it off, because I don't want it to affect their subconscious. Because they think that there's nothing wrong with it. But subconsciously, it's feeding your mind. And it causes you to rebel against your parent. It causes you to do things that you're not supposed to do, you know, that's contrary against your beliefs. How you view God, principles, morals, laws, you know. And so you got to be aware of these subliminal messages. You have about 70,000 thoughts per day. 95% of those thoughts are in your subconscious mind. 5% is in your conscious mind. It is very important what you feed yourself on a daily basis, you all. When it comes to subliminal, we can't just entertain everything. We can't do it. I would name some things, but I'm not going to name any shows that I've watched that have really, affected me spiritually. And I said, I can't watch that no more. I'm not a TV watcher anyway. I watch certain shows from here or there, but I'm more of a person that likes to get in my word. I like to listen to worship music, gospel music. I try to surround myself with godly things, because I know that we're fighting and wrestling against principalities and spiritual wickedness in high places. We're wrestling against so much that if God turned our eyes on in the spirit realm, we would be shocked at what we see around us. So much evil. And so I don't try to surround myself with that. I try to keep my home in a place where it's at peace. I try to keep the devil out of our house. We pray over our home, pray over these kids. We pray over the doorpost in the home, because I want God to be in our home. I want him to rest in this house. And so when he rests in here, those types of things show up. Those kind of things, dealing with subliminal messages, dealing with our subconscious. God begins to reveal these things to me. But you got to be in a position where God can do that. He will, if you yield yourself to God, he will show you where these subliminal messages lie, because not all the time will you be turned on to it. because a lot of what we wrestle with is spiritual. We've been talking about this. It is spiritual. And if it is spiritual, then of course you're not going to always recognize it through your natural. You're not, because it can only be spiritually discerned. And so the closer you are to Jesus, the closer you are to your Father, the more he will reveal and expose the plots and plans of the enemy and those subliminal messages that are around you. Because God will not have us to be ignorant. He doesn't want us to be ignorant. He doesn't want us to be deceived. But many of us have been deceived. We've been deceived by these images. We've been deceived by what is going on in our circles. We've been deceived. And so we have to allow God to pour into us. We got to allow him to give us wisdom, show us what is going on around us, give us that gift of discernment. You may not know the full picture of what's happening. You may not know the full measure of what's going on, but he will give you bits and pieces to let you know, look, this ain't right. Stay away from it. Okay? Stay away from the accursed things. Stay away from the blasphemous things, because these images and these things are blaspheming against me. So if you serving me, then I'm going to have to allow you to see these things, because I can't have you ignorant. I can't have you walking around being ignorant. Ignorant of the devices of the enemy. God doesn't want us to be ignorant. And you shouldn't want to be. You shouldn't want to be walking around here like you don't know what's happening. That's not a good place, because you can easily be destroyed. And God said in his word, we perish for the lack of knowledge. The fact that we just don't know. We perish for the lack of knowledge. And God wants us to have knowledge. He wants us to have an understanding of what's happening. Yeah, you may not understand it in the full entirety. You may not understand it like someone who may be able to articulate it in its entirety to you. But what you're given, the little pieces that you're given, to stay away. Okay, let me not gravitate to this, because the enemy is trying to lead me down a path of destruction. He's trying to cause me to believe a certain way, because he's doing something over here that's going to really cause me to fall into a ditch, fall into a hole. So I got to be on my up and up. I got to make sure that I know what's happening. I got to make sure, because I don't want to be ignorant. And God even said in his word, he said, there is nothing that is hidden that should not be revealed. He will reveal it to his people.